What is going on, guys? This is Wrestlelamia back with another episode. The news never stops and neither does Wrestlelamia. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Edge's honest reaction to Christian going to AEW, did the WWE ban other superstars from using Ronda Rousey's moves, John Cena indirectly saves a child's life, big entrance planned for Mania, and more. Edge's real reaction to Christian going to AEW. How does Edge feel about his longtime friend Christian going to All Elite Wrestling? It's a question fans have to be asking ever since Christian returned to WWE action at this year's Royal Rumble, and Edge began hinting that he and Christian might reform their legendary tag team. With Christian now signed to AEW, that's not going to happen, but according to Edge, he's okay with Christian leaving. The Rated R superstar told Sports Illustrated, "You know, I'm not bummed. I want him to be happy, and I want him to get the respect that he deserves, because I'd like for him to get the on-air respect that the locker room shows him. Because if you ask anyone within our industry, he's one of the names where people go, man, that dude." Like, if you watch the latest Broken Skull session with Randy Orton, and you watch Steve and Randy talk about Jay and what he brings to the table, Christian has often been booked on a lower tier to Edge, at least in the WWE, and while both men are incredibly gifted performers, there's no denying that the WWE treats them differently. The fact that Christian was never inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame is evidence of how Vince McMahon sees Christian, so it's no surprise Captain Charisma chose AEW over WWE. Edge went on to say that he wants to see Christian finish out his career wherever he's happiest. "So I just want him to be wherever he's going to get that respect, because whatever the initials are, he's my best friend. I want him to be happy, and I want him to be able to do hopefully what I get to do, which is go out on your own terms, and see this thing through properly instead of just like, you're done. Wait, what? I'm what? We've both been in that scenario, so I just want him to go wherever that's gonna be." You may recall that Wrestlelamia speculated that a move to AEW was in Christian's best interest, as it's probable that he would have been used as Roman Reigns' punching bag during Edge's program with the Tribal Chief, and unlike Edge, the WWE didn't seem to be in a hurry to bring him back. Wrestlers were banned from doing Ronda Rousey moves. Although UFC Hall of Famer Ronda Rousey was only in the WWE for 1 year, the company apparently protected her by keeping other wrestlers from performing some of the same moves as her. At least that's the story Matt Cardona, aka former WWE superstar Zack Ryder, is telling. Cardona spoke with Inside the Ropes about the time he was told he couldn't use a move because Rousey was going to use it later that night. "I was having a match before Raw, so main event or superstars or whatever it's called, and my producer told me I couldn't do a baseball slide to the floor because Ronda Rousey was doing it 2 hours later on Raw. I can understand if you're saying I can't put Mike Kanellis through the announce table on main event. Okay, I get it, but I can't do a baseball slide? We're talking about a baseball slide here. Because Ronda Rousey is doing a baseball slide? You think anybody is thinking in the arena, oh, Zack Ryder did that baseball slide 2 hours ago? Like, come on!" Professional wrestling producers are often instructed to make sure matches aren't repetitive or that undercard matches don't overshadow main events. Still, this does seem like overkill. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Roman Reigns to Hollywood? Could current Universal Champion Roman Reigns be the next WWE superstar to leave the ring for the bright lights of Hollywood? Reigns, who had a role in his cousin The Rock's Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, thinks Hollywood is inevitable and told Ariel Helwani, "The following year, 2023, I'm in The Rock's backyard. Imagine me with another couple of years with this dominance. In Hollywood, which God willing is the obvious next step if available and everything happens correctly. People in my position typically end up there. To be able to tell that story with him, it'd be cool." This isn't the first time Roman has brought up heading to Hollywood once his WWE career winds down, and the Tribal Chief seems to have a timetable for when he'll retire. Roman also talked about WrestleMania 39 being held at California's SoFi Stadium and how it could be an ideal venue for him and The Rock to square off. The event is being hyped as WrestleMania Hollywood, so why not feature one of the biggest names in Hollywood, The Rock, and one of the biggest names in wrestling, Roman? Big opener planned for WrestleMania 37. Speaking of the showcase of the Immortals, it looks like the WWE is going to get Night 1 of WrestleMania 37 off to a big start thanks to a huge opening segment. The reliable wrestling Twitter account WrestleVotes recently reported, "Hearing something interesting. WWE may not feature a match on the WrestleMania kickoff show for Night 1, as the first entrance back in front of live fans is being looked at as a huge deal. Not decided at all, but definitely a conversation happening within creative." While the report states there will be no match on Night 1 of the pre-show, it sounds like there will be a pre-show. If fans are fortunate, it'll be limited to 1 hour each night, but with WWE trying to pop views for WrestleMania, you can never be certain. Fans are already contemplating what might be the big opener. Could it be the return of Becky Lynch, or a huge entrance for the WWE Championship defense by Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre? Fans might even see a musical performance by rapper Bad Bunny, who is scheduled to wrestle on Night 1. What do you think could happen? WWE Hall of Fame inductee not present at ceremony. The pandemic is still causing problems with the WWE's Hall of Fame induction ceremony for the 2020 and 2021 classes, as more than one inductee has been unable to attend. Dave Meltzer commented on the situation in the latest issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Justin Liger did not appear. Meltzer also noted that the ceremony was shorter than usual, resulting in abbreviated speeches. For example, the Bella Twins noted that their Hall of Fame acceptance speech was cut and had to fit into a 3 to 5 minute window after they had first written a 15-minute speech. The WWE Hall of Fame ceremony will air on the Peacock streaming service on 6th April. Former WWE superstar returning to Titanland? Looks like another former WWE superstar is on his way back to the company. While there have been rumors swirling for months that Davey Boy Smith Jr. was returning to WWE, nothing has come about until recently. Now, Dave Meltzer is reporting in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter that, as noted before, Davey Boy Smith Jr. not being on the Bloodsport show on 4/8 seems like a giveaway that he signed here. We'd been told it was likely some time back. There was talk of him when they were first talking to him, and this goes back probably a year or so, of his being one of the focal points of the UK brand as opposed to main roster or NXT. That has its positives in the sense he'd be guaranteed a push, but WWE has done little with the people on the brand past book them for television tapings, and we don't see them ever doing much of a house show schedule. Diamond Dave theorized as to how Smith will be reintroduced to the WWE Universe, as well as where he could have signed. Obviously, he'll be introduced at the Hall of Fame ceremony with his father going in, and that was always the idea to do it that way. His MLW contract was in the way for a long time of his coming in, but that expired at the end of the year. All Japan had interest in him, but the pandemic ruined that. I don't know if AEW made an offer to him or not. Jim Ross was also a big proponent of his, and he met with Tony Khan at a party last year when he was still under contract to MLW. The 35-year-old Smith formed a championship tag team with Tyson Kidd in the WWE and has enjoyed success in other promotions, including New Japan Pro Wrestling and Major League Wrestling. Hopefully, he'll have a good run in the WWE. John Cena responsible for saving a child's life. Last but not least, professional wrestling has often been used as a scapegoat for misbehavior by kids, as critics claim kids imitate the violent moves they see during matches, resulting in serious injury or death. While this claim is dubious at best, there's no denying that a professional wrestler is indirectly responsible for saving a child's life thanks to something that happened with a wrestler on TV. In this case, 16-time world champion John Cena, who showcased some life-saving skills on an episode of Nickelodeon's TV series The Substitute. Skills which an 8-year-old used to save his 20-month-old sister. Jackson Dempsey recently discussed the events wherein he saved his baby sister's life. "We were driving to my haircut and I noticed she started to choke from a chicken nugget from McDonald's. I told my dad to pull over. Then I was starting to pat her back and it got out. In the very first episode of The Substitute, John Cena was on it, and in the last part, he showed how to save someone when they're choking." Kudos to young Jackson for rescuing his sister from a perilous predicament. This isn't the first time a kid has used a first aid procedure they've seen on TV, and it's refreshing to see a professional wrestler get positive press. Well guys, there you have it, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know in wrestling. What did you think of these stories and rumors? Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.